Hello tanks and tankettes! Guess who just sat down and tried to record this video without checking that their microphone was properly plugged in? Yeah, and that actually fits the tone of this video quite well as well, because it's going to be about derp. It's going to be me massively derping and somehow getting away with it, mostly because I get carried by teammates. But that's not really anything new, is it? This particular derp though is going to be a bit special. This particular replay's been sat around on my hard drive for a little while. Basically I'd forgotten it was there because I sent it off to Jingles, and well, he gets sent a lot of replays, and so anytime I do send something to Jingles, which isn't exactly often, I basically give it a little while, because I'm not just going to, you know, wait 3 days, assume he's not going to use it, and then suddenly, you know, a week later, there it pops up, and then I feel very foolish. So I, you know, left it a while, and then a while longer, and then at some point I just forgot that this was there. But I think I can safely say, with this being a 917 replay, that Jingles is probably not going to use this anytime soon, so here we are. I finally got around to doing it myself. So it's a Mutz game. It's pretty good matchmaking. It's a couple of tier 9s per side, a tier 9 platoon in the enemy team, in fact, with the same on our side, but that's good. That means I can hurt most everything on the enemy team with this gun. Ordinarily I wouldn't rush round here like that, but the fact that the AC-48 would immediately get obliterated by a line of tank destroyers near where the charioteer was last spotted led me to believe that there was at most 1 or 2 tanks there, and in fact we know there is one because the T-25-2 actually killed our AC-48 in the end. So the T-34 didn't have a lot of backup. It would have been basically foolish to just sit here and be held up 3 tanks versus, well, 2 really if you count the T-25-2. So we've broken through and actually killed artillery, which is a bonus for being fairly early in the game. And if we kill this T-25-2 as well, it either forces some enemy tanks to come back and deal with us, which is maybe what the IS-3 is doing. That's kind of maybe creeping back towards their cap. It's not entirely clear to tell at this point. But even if they don't, I mean, obviously trying to cap it out would be difficult, if not impossible, and just crazy to even try. But it does mean that we can maybe do some damage from this side to the tanks that are slightly to our south, because there's a whole bunch of enemy tanks between us and any friendlies. However, for whatever reason, me and this T-34-2 just decided to go round to the cap instead, and I'm watching this now from the future, from when this game was played, and I can't really understand what I was going for here, or the T-34-2, and it's not like I was following them in exactly. I mean, we just kind of, by some unspoken mutual agreement, both turned and went for the cap, and maybe we thought we'd come up behind the IS-3 and the Scorpion that we knew were in the middle. But as it was, the IS-3 had come back to the cap, and now it's all going a bit wrong, because the T-34-2 is dead, and I have managed to do precisely 0 damage to this IS-3. And there may have been just a little bit of panicking there, but even so, that was a pretty poor performance. It actually started off alright, you know, taking out the T-25-2, rushing that T-34, that was fine, you know, that was all reasonably competently played, and then somehow I just decided to go into full headless chicken mode when that IS-3 turned up. I guess because I wasn't expecting it, and to unexpectedly run into a full health IS-3 when you're in a squashy medium tank is never good news, but for some reason it clearly really threw me. Now, I was streaming this. I think there might even be a highlight up on the Twitch page somewhere still. I don't do many Twitch highlights, but yeah, this was one of those rare occasions when I was streaming tanks. I don't stream that much anyway, and in fact I don't think I have in probably over a month as of recording this. streamed anything, but it's usually warships or something else. But this was one of those rare times when I did do tanks, so I had that extra pressure of, oh my god, there are literally dozens of people watching me right now. And so yeah, that probably didn't help, because it's a different thing when you're streaming or even just recording something live, when you know that there are people watching or going to be watching something, as opposed to when you're just playing. And I know people like Circon and QB and Orzanel and whoever else just make it look super easy, but it isn't that easy. And a lot of it does come from practice, but also it does help that if you have the certain kind of personality where you just, you know, you can handle being under a bit of pressure and knowing people are watching you. But that's not me so much. You know, there's the whole Asperger's thing going on to begin with, and then trying to do things live in front of a public audience. Yeah, that always goes well. I picked a bit of an odd profession, all things considered. So the T-49, which is one of the few surviving tanks, got a bit caught in the middle there. We're only about halfway through this match, time-wise, but we're down to just a couple of tanks on each side. And as it turns out, the other remaining IS-3 is still full health, which is not good news. But they don't have artillery support, and that could actually end up being pretty important. Our own Arty is still alive and kicking, but it's a Crusader SP. They do have 3 kills though, so they might be either lucky or actually competent. You know, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. We'll have to wait till the end scores to actually find that one out. But the fact that they've got the 3 kills means they at least hopefully somewhat know how to, you know, aim their gun and play artillery, and more importantly, pay attention to the bits of the map that need paying attention to, that they're actually looking at their mini-map, paying attention to the situation and aiming preemptively accordingly, which is what separates a good artillery player from a terrible one, because sometimes you get arty players, especially ones that use XVM, that will just focus on trying to take out one tank at the expense of paying attention to what's going on in the rest of the game and actually focus on the important areas. And you can make an argument about, well, trying to take out the best player is going to help your team overall, but it might actually be detrimental as well. So this particular encounter's not gone very well. Again, I don't think I was playing very well there, but I'm about to do something even more stupid. Yeah, well done, past me. Very well done. As if I wasn't low enough on health already and not particularly using the terrain well or judging the timing well to make my getaway from the IS-3. You know, I got in 1 hit on the other IS-3, but I've lost most of my health now at this point, and then almost managed to kill myself by dropping down there. So, yeah, yeah, I was a 1-hit kill for all these things anyway, but I just had to make things that little bit more difficult for myself, apparently. So, apologies to anybody that, you know, facepalmed so hard they gave themselves a concussion, as Caption Guy would say. So it's me and the artillery versus this M103. Yeah, he's not a 1-shot. He's at least a 2, if not a 3-shot kill. And I'd probably need the premium ammo to get through his frontal armour, unless I was aiming very carefully. So I probably was on the APCR by this point. I do at least have a mobility advantage though, and I have the advantage of having an artillery ally who is at least having a go at hitting him. And bear in mind, this is 917, so this is old artillery. So instead of following round and trying to work back to the cap, I decided I was going to play a little mind game and actually at least get 1 shot with the element of surprise. And when it comes down to this kind of situation, in really any game like this, you're trying to outthink the other player, you're trying to outguess the other player, and I can't pretend I'm particularly good at it, but having the experience of a bunch of battles behind you certainly does help. And having mentioned XVM earlier, this is also maybe one of those times when having XVM, knowing roughly what the enemy player's skill would, what level they're at, you know, that would actually be beneficial. But I've never used it. Don't think I ever will. Not that I play a lot of tanks these days. So it's really just me guessing as to how good this enemy M103 is. So I drove through a cap there, I think deliberately. I think I was trying to draw the M103 back to their own cap, and so I could maybe drop down the middle and just come up behind them. But as it turned out, that plan was completely moot, because the M103 had gone for our cap. Now, I have wasted a moment or two there in trying to spot the M103, but he's positioned himself such that I couldn't hit him from there anyway, so fortunately it's the last second intervention of our artillery to reset that buys the time to not get capped out, and at that point, with getting the hit on the move, I actually made the one genuinely good split-second decision that I had made in that match, which was just to keep going forwards and ram the M103, who was now low enough health for me to get away with it. So that got me a kamikaze ribbon in the end, and it wasn't my intention there, but yeah, just occasionally the neurons line up and fire in the correct sequence. However, the real hero of this particular game was in fact that Crusader SP, without whom this would have been flatly impossible. And just getting that much damage in a Crusader SP is impressive in its own right. You have to land direct hits, you have to get penetrating hits, so nearly 4,000 damage, that's not bad. I played through that thing when I was grinding for the British Arty line, and yeah, that's one of the weakest on the line outside of perhaps, say, the Birch gun. The Scorpions, worth noting as well, they also did very, very well with over 4,000 damage done. And it's not like my own damage was completely inconsequential, but compared to those two, it almost felt like it was along for the ride. And it really was just that ending that made this something a little bit different, something a little bit special, and it elevated it to that extra bit of, you know, special Jedi derpery that is my hallmark at this point, I guess. But that was turned up to 11, I like to think. So hopefully you found this entertaining, because Lord knows it wasn't educational in any way. If you did, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.